Welcome back to a family meeting. Okay, guys. So I know like we've been doing a great job. We're meeting every single week. So we're meeting on Sundays at 7 p.m. So what we're talking about today, as I've been promising you guys all week, is we're going to be talking about passive income. All right. So I just want to jump right into it. We're going to go over some of the house rules, and then we're going to get right into the discussion today. So. So, family meeting rules. The sole purpose of the family meeting is for this to be a place to learn, share, and empower one another around all things that involve financial literacy. The premise and the reason why I started doing the family meeting is because we learn the foundations of things at home. And some of us, like me included, didn't necessarily get all of the details on money and how it works and how it moves and just the literacy and education around it from at home, right? I learned as I got to the workforce, I learned the hard way. I took some lumps, I lost some money, but the purpose of the family meeting is that I'm giving you guys a place to come and join in community, to talk, to learn, to share ideas, and to share opportunities, right? It's all about giving access around the money because money is not will not bring you happiness, but money definitely helps. All right. So if you're looking for some get rich quick plan, idea, scheme, or anything that looks like that, this is not the place for you. So goodbye. Listen, we love to have you here if you want to learn the right things the right way. If you want to learn the foundation of money, of how to use it, of how to have it and make it grow. Like I'm teaching you how to fish here, right? I'm not giving you a fish, metaphorically speaking, okay? So make sure you come to all the meetings with a pen and a notepad prepared to take notes. Don't be shy to ask questions. I'm not a person that forgets my spot. I don't like to talk all alone by myself. I'm an interactive person. So if you have questions, raise your hand, pop in there. I'll unmute you. We'll talk, and I'll get back to the program. But please, this is interactive. I'm not just here to talk to you. I want us to have a family meeting, right? And this is how you would interact with your family. You're going to interrupt them. We're going to talk. We're going to have a debate. We're going to share ideas, okay? Family meetings will normally run about 60 minutes. I like to keep on time and on track. I value your time. I value my time. So I don't want it to get too long-winded, which is one of the things we changed from last year. And the one thing that I do ask in sharing these family meetings and doing this work and spending this time with you guys is that you share this information. If you find it valuable, I hope you do, share it with three other people right now. Send the link out to people, share the YouTube page, share it, share it, share it. Okay. I want this information to get out as much people as possible. And the YouTube algorithms and Instagram, all the social algorithms, social media, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, they all work on algorithms. The more you share, the more you like, the more you engage, the more it spreads. And I believe that this information is vitally important to our generation and the younger generation and the older generation. So I'm hoping you agree with me as well on that and get this out to as many people as possible. So please like, share, subscribe, send it out. Let's get this thing spreading like wildfire, okay? Disclaimer. This is not financial advice. I am a licensed financial advisor, but this is not financial advice. This is for educational purposes only. I'm creating these PowerPoints, these slides, this information to share with you, to learn, to grow, and hopefully you can do your own research and hire the right people and ask the right questions and understand the right things to do with your money. Okay, so again, it's for the educational purposes only, for you to learn and grow and hopefully be prosperous. So, who am I? For those of you that this is your first time attending a family meeting and you're just finding me for however you found me, give you a little background on myself. My name is Andre Green, also known as Andre Talkscreen. I'm an investor, a serial entrepreneur, a mentor, an author, and a dad. I started working in real estate back in 2005. So that's more than 20 years ago at this point. And I've had almost every job in real estate except for maybe one or two. Okay. I've done rentals, real estate listings, buyer's agent, seller's agent, loan officer, loan underwriter, commercial property manager, residential property manager, asset manager. I'm still a licensed New York State real estate broker and a few more that I don't want to bore you with the details. But all I'm saying is I have a lot of experience. I know how to make money. I know how to make my clients money. And that's why I'm here sharing my knowledge with you today. I also, over the years, decided to found a insurance brokerage. So I'm the principal of Seneca Village Insurance, Seneca Village Agency. Okay, licensed insurance broker in 14 states and counting. And we offer all insurances, including life insurance, business insurance, GL, construction, restaurant, development, cybersecurity, and many other lines. Okay. I have personally raised myself over $350,000 in business credit across several of my business corporations that I use for investments, which I do talk about and I do educate people on. So I'm saying that to you because I'm telling you I know the things, right? People are always trying to offer you credit and sell you credit like credit is some way to make money or a thing that you can acquire money and OPM, but they don't give you all the details. I'm giving you all the details, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I have the experience. I've made all the mistakes. I've learned my lessons, and I'm still here, right? So that's the good news. Started investing personally for myself in 2017, going on 10 years soon. And I built a seven-figure portfolio in under 36 months, so about 3 years, okay? And I'm doing that all out of state because the market that I'm in the Northeast in New York. It's a very expensive place to invest as a investor. So I had to find a place where when I was starting out, I can afford the market. And I show people and I teach people how to do that, which is why I then wrote the book the Long Distance Millionaire when I became an author. That book gives you a step-by-step process how to become a real estate investor in any state in the United States. And it goes over a few things, including your mindset, where to find the market, how do you fund these deals, how do you manage these deals, how do you find tenants, how do you get your money out of the deals, and how do you keep growing, right? That's all in the book. So if you're interested in that, you can go to my website, ArnieTalksGreen.com, or go to Long Distance Millionaire if you wanted to find a little bit more about that. So we're talking about passive income today, okay? What is passive income? So the definition of passive income is income that an individual or business earns with minimal to no ongoing active effort after its initial investment of money, time, or effort to set it up, right? So that means you do a little bit of work on the front end, due diligence, setting up your automation, setting up your systems, and then you kind of let the money do its thing, right? You let it go to work, right? So, family question, right? Why does everyone want passive income? So, I'm gonna give you a second to think about that. Everybody wants passive income. Easy answer is because they want to make money while they relax, while they put their feet up. Nobody wants to have to work hard for their money. They want the money to be working for them. That allows you the freedom to do whatever it is that you like, right? You have hobbies, you have travel, you like to go out to eat, you want to just be on the beach somewhere and be a beach bum. That's what passive income allows you to do. You get to dictate your life now versus your job dictate your life. You want to work to live, not live to work. And that's why passive income is such a big topic that everyone's looking for, that mailbox money, that work while you sleep money. That's how you become wealthy, right? Rich is one thing. Wealthy is a whole different conversation. Okay? So, how long does it take to start making passive income? That depends. You can start making passive income right away, depending on how you want to go about it, right? There's lots of different things that people do to start making money work for them, right? You can put it into a REIT, you can put it into the stock market, you can lend it to someone else, you can put it into a business. You can do so many different things to start making passive income. The time horizon may change depending on what you're putting the money into, but you can do it depending on what your due diligence process is and what access you have to these investments, okay? Is it possible to live off passive income only? The short answer is yes. There are lots of retirees and there are lots of very wealthy people that live only off of their passive income. So that means whatever interest or dividends they're receiving from their money, that's what they use to spend every single day or every single week or every single month. They've accumulated enough wealth in many places, and they put it into a concentrated place where that thing now spits off money for them. It comes in the form of a dividend, it comes in the form of interest, it comes in the form of cash flow, and depending on where the money is sitting, but that's what passive income can do for you once you get enough of it together, right? So you gotta let it grow, you gotta let it build a little bit, but once you do that, it starts to really work for you, it starts to compound for you. Now, what investments are truly passive? The reason why I wanted to talk about this today is because there are so many people on the internet, on social media, telling you that everything's passive income. Everything you do can be passive income. That's a lie. All right. We're not here to tell you the lies. We're here to talk about the truth and what the reality is. Okay. So we're going to talk about what's fake passive income and what's real passive income and what the differences are. Right. We're gonna do a little deep dive on that to understand the foundation and the basis of it. And once you know what the truth is, you now get to make a decision, an educated one, on what you want to do next. Okay. So these are the type of investments that we're going to cover today, right? Fake passive income versus real passive income. And you're going to notice a couple things here, right? Some of them look kind of the same. Well, how can it be both fake passive and real passive? And I'm going to get into some details on that, right? So, first one, fake passive income, being a business owner, especially a small business owner. This drives me crazy because so many people are telling you get business credit, get this, get that, get the money, and then just make it go do the work for you. But the part that they're leaving out is that if you're running a small business, you're the one that's doing the work every single day, either by yourself or with other people that are in your business. You're not sitting back. You're the one doing the marketing. You're the one making the calls. You're the one looking for new clients. You're the one servicing the clients you do have. You're the one paying bills. You're the one taking care of everything. You're doing a lot of work, right? And depending on what type of small business you have, you're doing loads of work, working 10, 20, 20, 15, 20 hours a day to make sure your business stays up and running and afloat. Does that sound passive to you? It's not, right? I know there's lots of things that was especially going, over the past couple of years that people were pushing on you to get a truck and rent it out, go on Turo, get into real estate, do fix and flip. All these things that they're telling you to be a business owner, they're not passive, right? You have to work at them. So that's one of the things I want to get out the way right away. Being a small business owner is not passive. Being a real estate investor as like a fix and flipper or a wholesaler, also not passive. I don't know who came up with this idea that real estate investing was a passive thing. It's not in general. There is a way for it to be passive, but that's not what everyone's talking about. They're not giving you the truth. And when we're in this family, we're giving you the truth. You're going to know the truth, and then you make your decision for yourself. So, being a real estate investor where you're doing fix and flips, not passive. You have to find the properties, you're negotiating with sellers, you're dealing with contractors, you got to get your hard money, you got to deal with the money, you've got to get things on a schedule, you got to make sure the guys are working and getting things done on time to then get the properties completed and then sold. And then while you're doing that, you're looking for more properties to buy because you make money by volume, not by sitting back. So how is this passive? If you're in wholesaling, you're constantly looking for deals. You're constantly analyzing deals. You're constantly negotiating. Not passive, right? These are not passive things in real estate, okay? Real estate agents, not passive. They have to work. They got to beat the street. They got to be shaking hands and kissing babies to get clients to know, like, and trust them. Not a passive thing. Landlords, owner operator landlords. Whoever created this lie that has spread like wildfire that being in real estate as a landlord is passive, lied to all of us. This is pure crap. I've been a landlord for almost 10 years at this point, and there's nothing about owning and managing my properties that makes it passive. Not one thing. Not even doing the reconciliation on my accounting every single month makes it passive. So forget about finding tenants, dealing with tenants' problems, dealing with maintenance repairs, dealing with the contractors, dealing with the city and the municipalities, violations, the garbage. There's so many things that go on as a landlord that will drive you crazy if you're an owner operator. Being an owner operator, running an Airbnb, these things are not passive unless they're set up properly. So the general statement that being a landlord is passive, crap, straight lies. Okay, let's not do that anymore. Okay, let's be real about what we're talking about here. So next one is being a stock trader, a day trader, an option trader, a forex trader. Those jobs or those types of traders are not passive because they're actively every day, if they're good, doing research. They're looking for the edge. They're trying to figure out what's going on with the market, what might happen in the economy, what's going on a global scale. They're constantly doing work and looking at things. They make a lot of money because they do a lot of work. They're the ones earning their keep, right? So they might, what seems like work for a few minutes, but you don't see all the research and time that they put in to their craft to understand what those symbols and things mean when they see it on a chart. They know their setups because they've been doing the reps. They've been in the gym getting to know their craft, right? So being a day trader, an ops trader, forex trader, that's not a very passive thing. You're actively working at it to be better and to be ahead so that you can capitalize on those opportunities in the market. Last one we're going to talk about right now is content creator. I don't know what year this became like a passive thing. I know where it came from. YouTube and all the socials started paying people to create content, and you hear people trying to sell you courses about how to make passive income as a content creator, but it's not a passive job. Because as a content creator, me included, if you stop making content, you can potentially stop making income, which means why am I doing this? It's no longer a passive thing, right? I have to work. I have to be active to get passive. So it's not really passive. It's me just getting paid for the work that I'm doing, right? You create content, and the moment you stop, your content becomes stale, and then no more income coming in. People aren't watching as many of your videos anymore. So everything kind of dries up. You got to stay on top of it. You got to stay active. You got to stay working. So content creators are not a part of the passive income. These things are fake passive incomes. Let's talk about some of the real passive incomes, right? So, passive stock investor, that's passive income because when you're investing like a REIT or an ETF or an index fund, there's someone actively managing the REITs, the ETFs, and the index funds, or they're tying them to things that's being actively managed. And you, as the investor, get to sit back and put your feet up. Now it's passive for you. So finding places to put your money that is working for you while someone actively works on it makes someone else passive. So somebody's got to be active, somebody's got to be passive. The passive person is the one that gets to say, I have passive income. The active person is actively working on it, right? So you have to have two parts to have the other, right? Passive income comes from active income. What seat are you sitting in? Being a landlord, you can be in a passive role if it's done properly and set up properly. How do I set it up properly? You can become a passive landlord by hiring a professional property management company. So if you have professional property management, they're the one doing the active work for you, which is what? They're finding the tenants, they're qualifying the tenants, they're collecting the rents, they're dealing with maintenance requests, they're dealing with the contractors, they're dealing with trash, they're dealing with toilets, they're dealing with the city violations, they're dealing with all of the things that happen during your ownership of the property. And at the end of the month, they're going to charge you a fee because they're actively doing the work, but you receive the net cash flow. And that's why it's passive to you because you're not worrying about it. You're not dreading your phone and dodging phone calls and text messages. Those aren't things you're doing anymore because you've got someone in place to take care of it for you. So that's how you can be passive at a certain size or with certain systems in place to be a passive landlord, right? That's how that works. Being a lender, very, very passive after you do your due diligence in the beginning, right? So a lender could be a mortgage company or a hard money company because they're using the money and putting it to work. The money is the active piece in this equation, right? So money is getting put to use and gaining interest. Now you're giving it to a borrower or an investor who's going to be actively fixing things or owning things and managing things that they're using OPM to acquire the asset that they're working on. So you as a lender now, you're receiving interest passively because there's nothing for you to do. You've given the money, you did your due diligence. Now the money has to start working and accruing interest while it's out there. And when it's done, it comes back home with friends, right? You want your money to always come back home with friends. So if you're doing hard money lending on a short term, normally it's 6 to 12 months. You're going to be lending it for a fix and flip because the investor is going to turn that money over relatively quickly, and you're going to charge interest for it along with a couple points, that's origination fees and stuff like that, to get to access your money. That way your money is making you more money. If you're the mortgagor, so you've given a loan to someone over a longer period of time, they're making monthly mortgage payments. That mortgage payment includes principal and interest. That's the money coming back to you as the investor or the lender to make your money grow, right? That's why it becomes passive. Now you can sit back with your feet up because the owner is actively managing or living in the property, okay? The last one I want to touch on for real passive income is a VC or investor. VC stands for venture capital. That's someone who's really professional at investing into businesses and startups all the time, right? That's a strategy, but you can also do that as a small individual person as just being an investor. You can call yourself a VC if you know what you're doing, right? You have a system as to how you're doing your due diligence, how you're evaluating investments, and it can be done at many, many levels, which I'm going to talk on in a second, right? But pretty much you're going to be silent as a silent investor in someone else's business or idea. So you're putting your money up for some type of equity, and that equity hopefully grows to something much more than what you invested it at. That way, the active part is that the business owner or the founder is working on whatever that business idea is or that business is to make that money make more money. And you get to reap some of the benefits because you've contributed with your money into the business. That's how you become a silent investor or a VC. And you're doing this across multiple things that can definitely grow your portfolio, grow your income, grow your riches, grow your wealth. So, what do you notice about real passive versus fake passive income? They look like they're in the same categories in the same industry. So, what's the difference? The difference is someone has to be active in the business and someone gets to be passive, but you have to have the proper things in place for it to be passive. So on the passive side, you're normally investing your capital. On the active side, you're normally investing your time and energy on a consistent basis. So if you want to really be on the passive side, you have to learn how to evaluate opportunities, whether that's a real estate opportunity, that's a business opportunity, whether that's a stock. You need to understand how do you evaluate it to say this is a good thing for me to put my money into or not. And once you get to that place, you now need to make sure you have access to the capital, whether it's your own money or other people's money. You're also doing an analysis to say, hey, I'm going to put this money to work because it's going to bring back more friends, right? The money is coming home with more friends. That's how you become a passive investor where you get to put your feet up, right? So let's talk about some real different ways you can do it. And there's levels to this, like everything else. You start off small and then you kind of grow. So, what are the levels? Level one, you start out, you're just starting out, you want to learn while you earn. That's a very big thing for me. I've always done this throughout my life, and that's the thing that I teach to my son, and I'm hoping that I can teach it to my families, right? You want to learn while you earn. If you start out small, you can make a little bit of money while you're also learning a lot. And that is the best way to learn, right? We've been conditioned to, we go to school, we learn, but we don't make money until later. That's not true in the business world. You can make money while you're learning. Okay. So you want to invest in things that you understand. That is how you learn while you earn. You're investing in something that you already have an idea about. You understand how it works. And for some of you, that's a very niche thing, which will give you huge upside potential. Because if you're learning about things that not everybody's into, there's not that many people actually maybe necessarily investing in it, which gives you an advantage and an opportunity. So you want to get into things that you understand, right? If you understand the basics, then you can then put some money into it, small amounts, and possibly make it grow. One of the examples I'm going to give you is a REIT. A REIT is a real estate investment trust, which is pretty much a company that has a certain designation that allows other people to invest into the assets that they have. For example, there are REITs that for everything, for malls, for office buildings, for multifamily properties, for Walgreens and Rite Aids. There's REITs for every single thing out there. Okay, some do only warehouses like Amazon, like then just distribution centers. There's REITs for everything. For this example, we're going to talk about REITs that do malls. Many people have been to a mall, so they understand how malls work. You go to the mall because you want to go shopping. There's multiple stores here. The stores are tenants of the mall. The REIT company owns the mall. The stores in the mall pay rent to the owner. And then the REIT company redistributes those profits back to its investors. And legally, because of how REITs are set up, they have to pay back 90% of their profits. That's where your dividends come from when you're an investor in a REIT, right? So you understand the concept of this is how a mall makes money. This is how I get my investment back. This is how I make dividends. This is how I grow this is how I become a passive investor. Now you see the logic of what I'm saying. That's how you become a passive investor by as little as some REITs are $13. You can find a cheap REIT for $13. Do your due diligence, do your research, but it doesn't take a lot of money to get started, is what I'm trying to get at. Okay. So that's one example. Level one, start out with something that you understand, and it could be as small as $13 in some cases, depending on when you're seeing this video. Level two, so you're going to understand how different industries operate and work, right? So we're putting your money to work in a business that's you looking to utilize your capital. Okay. So this doesn't have to be, a big company. It could be a small company. It could be a local mom and pop. It could be one of your friends starting a business. It can be your kids. I've done that with my son on multiple occasions because, as you know, kids' attention spans, they're like squirrels from Ice Age. Squirrel! And they go somewhere else, right? They keep running around. Every day is a new idea. But if they have an idea that you think, this might be kind of viable, I want to help you grow this thing, right? So my son at one point got into sneaker flipping when that was really, really hot, right? And I think he was under 10 at the time, or maybe like around 10 years old. And I had to sit him down. Like, you got to understand how this works. This is not just for a one-time thing. This is not just like, oh, I can do this because I see people doing it. I got him to understand, how does the business work? Where am I buying my inventory from? How am I selling it? What are the things I need to do? How much money do I need to have? Where am I getting the money from? Who's going to be my investor? If I'm going to use OPM, am I using my allowance? All of these things come into play. So you don't have to always start with large amounts of money. You can start with as little as $100, depending on what the venture is that you want to invest in, and if the person's looking for money from you to do so. So, in that situation, I got to be a silent investor in my son's idea. Okay. So I can do the same exact thing for stock investing, do my research on the stock. I have some money set aside. I can buy, partial shares in a company or buy a whole share in a company, but that allows me to be an investor with a small amount of capital into the business. And as long as I'm investing in a business that's going to be making money, or into a stock that's paying dividends, then I'm going to be receiving my money back with interest. Okay. That's how that works. So it doesn't have to be a lot of money to get going. Level three, we're talking about a little bit more advanced strategies. And I call it advanced because you're using hard assets. Level one and two, there are no hard assets that are involved in those processes for the most part. But when you get to level three, because you have a hard asset, you're tending to deal with things that cost more money, like a house, like a building, right? So those are what hard assets are. Real estate is a hard asset because you have a physical place that you can touch and feel and go to. So it tends to be easier to get loans on because there's tangible things involved in the process, but it also requires more money to be put out into the investment. So just for example, if you had a property worth $100,000 that you're buying, and the bank says we'll do a 5% down payment, you can essentially acquire a property that's worth $100,000 for $5,000 because that's the down payment amount. That's incredible leverage that you get when you start using advanced strategies like real estate investing, right? You can get other people's money to buy the property. You can get other people's money for your down payment. You can get other people's money for renovations. Lots of different ways to structure those deals, but you got to know what you're doing, right? You have to do your due diligence. You have to know how to buy. You have to know that you're buying right and you're buying in the right place. But this can be done, and you can do it as a landlord. You can do it as a lender. You can do it in a couple different ways to make your money work for you. While someone's being active, you get to be passive. There's always a yin and a yang. So anytime anybody starts talking about passive income, your question should be, who's the active person making it passive for me? Okay. So you shouldn't be afraid to get started at any level because I've just shown you there's multiple ways to get involved in becoming a passive investor. So future family meeting topics what I touched on just now was the tip of the iceberg when it comes to passive investing, right? There are multiple levels to it, and my purpose here is to get your mind open, and so that you're intrigued and interested in learning more. And hopefully you come back to talk about other topics, right? So we will be talking about how to invest in real estate. We'll be talking about what type of insurance I should have, life insurance, property insurance, business insurance. We're talking about private market investing. That's one of the levels that I didn't touch on just now, was private markets, because we're going to do a whole class on that. Private market or private equity is another way to increase your wealth exponentially, because you're getting into passive investments that can give you huge upside and returns if done properly, if you have access. Having access is one of the most important things that people don't talk to you about. So get connected with a good financial advisor like myself or someone else that you know, and make sure that they're willing to give you access and make sure that you qualify. These are the conversations you should be having. So getting credit cards isn't the most important thing. Getting access to people that can turn that credit card money into millions of dollars is more important, right? Are you connected? Are you in the right rooms? So should I open an LLC? What should my structure be? Should I have one? Should I buy one? What's an annuity? Should I get one? Should everybody have one? We talked about passive income today. We're going to talk about 401ks. How much should I put into it? Should I get a Roth 401k? Is that available to me? Do 529s work? Like, should my kids have one? Are my parents going to be able to retire comfortably? Are they going to have to come back and live with me? Are they going to be in a assisted living place? How much does that cost? Like, these are the topics that we're going to be talking about because they affect our family. What's PMI? Private mortgage insurance. That's attached to your mortgage if you have a property. If you didn't put down a certain amount, do you know what that down payment percentage is? That's what we'll be talking about when we have these family meetings, okay? There's so much more that I didn't touch on just yet. We're talking about business credit. We're talking about building credit. We're talking about regular personal credit. We're talking about HSAs. We're talking about different ways to make money, to protect money. We're talking about trust. There's so many things that we have to touch on as a family that we need to at least understand the basics of to make sure we're what? Not being taken advantage of. That's the reason why I started doing this. I want to make sure that everyone has a basic foundation of financial literacy. And if you do so, that means you'll be able to ask the right questions at the right time to the right people. You got to know when people are not telling you everything you need to know, and you got to know how to get the right information out of them. If you can't tell, I am really excited about money. That's why my name is Andre Talks Green, because I talk about money all the time. And I hope you learned a lot today, and I hope you come back for more to learn more later. If anybody wants to connect with me, I'm on all socials. You can go on Instagram, TikTok, I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm especially here on YouTube. So if you like this information, if you want to see more about it, please like, subscribe, and share. Share it with your friends and family. Put it out there, because with the algorithms, I do more content when I know people are enjoying it and they're giving me feedback. If you don't like it, you don't want to hear anymore, I'll stop. No problem. I'll go sit in my corner and count my money. But if this is helpful to you, share it, like it, subscribe, and get it out there to more people, because I truly believe that this type of information is what's needed to give people a solid foundation for the future. So if you want to talk more about passive income, which is what we talked about today, you can book a call, a free consultation with me to see if you're qualified to get into some of these passive investments. If you're not ready yet, we can give you some type of a blue plan or a strategy to get there, right? So you can go to andretalksgreen.com and click on booking on the website to schedule your own time that works for you. And we'll talk 15, 20 minutes, nothing crazy. And if you're ready to do more right now, you want access to some real opportunities, some real investments that can be passive for you, we can talk a little bit more about that as well. So next family meeting will be January 18th at 7 p.m. We're going to be talking about a different topic. If you're seeing this after this date, that means that the family meeting might have happened already. So go to the YouTube page and see the video, right? So they all have dates on them. I do talk about what we're talking about every single time. So you can go check out the YouTube channel to see what that meeting was about, or other ones that we've already done, because we've done a few at this point and we're consistently putting them out once a week. So subscribe to get notified when we're putting up the new videos. I want to thank you so much for taking the time and sharing that time with me today. The price of admission doesn't cost you money. It might cost you a little bit of attention, but the real thing that I'm doing this for is that I hope that you share this with at least 3 people. Share the replay, tell your friends about it, connect with me. I want us to learn and grow as a community. And I truly believe that we will be the generation of change for our families. We're going to know more about money than almost any generation before us. And we're going to be the ones to take action and set things up for the future, right? We may not have come from millionaires, but millionaires can come from us. So let's keep working. Let's keep learning. Let's keep growing. Let's stay connected, family. Until I see you next time, love you guys. Talk to you soon. Have a great one.